I was sitting in a Houston Chick-fil-A at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday when I discovered my wife was sleeping with my business partner. The irony wasn't lost on me. I ducked in here specifically because Emily hated fast food, said it was beneath us now that we'd made it. But I'd been craving a spicy chicken sandwich all morning, and since I was supposed to be in Dallas for a conference she thought I was attending, I figured what she didn't know wouldn't hurt her. Turns out, what I didn't know was destroying me. My phone buzzed while I was mid-bite. A text from my younger brother, Kyle. "Dude, call me, now." Kyle wasn't the dramatic type. He was a petroleum engineer, methodical and calm. The kind of guy who'd tell you your house was on fire in the same tone he'd use to discuss the weather. So the all-caps "now" made my stomach drop. I called him back immediately. "Where are you?" he asked, his voice tight. "Houston. The Dallas thing got canceled last minute, but I didn't tell Emily because I wanted to surprise her tonight." "Why? What's wrong?" "Are you sitting down?" "Kyle, what the hell is going on?" He let out a long breath. "Jenna saw something. She wasn't sure if she should tell me, and I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but screw it. You need to know." Jenna was Kyle's fiancée, a paralegal who'd been friends with Emily since college. They went to yoga together every Thursday morning. "Saw what?" "She went to that new place on Westheimer for lunch today. That Italian spot Emily's been raving about. And she saw Emily there, with Trevor. Trevor Walsh, my business partner of 6 years. The guy who'd stood beside me as best man at my wedding. The godfather to my 7-year-old daughter, Madison." "Okay," I said slowly, my sandwich suddenly tasting like cardboard. "So they had lunch. We're all friends. Maybe they were discussing the Brennan contract or—" "Jake." Kyle's voice cut through my rationalization like a knife. "Jenna said they were holding hands across the table. And when they left, Emily kissed him. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. In the parking lot, she watched Emily get into Trevor's car, and they sat there for another 10 minutes before driving off together." The restaurant suddenly felt too bright, too loud. A kid was screaming for more nuggets. A group of teenagers was laughing at something on their phones. Everything seemed obscenely normal while my world was imploding. "You still there?" Kyle asked. Yeah, I'm here." Jenna took a picture of the kiss. "I'm sending it to you now." My phone buzzed again. I pulled it away from my ear and opened the message. There they were, in crystal clear high definition. My wife of 9 years and my best friend since college, locked in an embrace next to his black Mercedes. Emily's hand was on his chest. His hand was tangled in her blonde hair. The hair I'd watched her spend an hour curling that morning before I'd left for my supposed trip. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last month. I'd told her she looked beautiful in it. Apparently, Trevor thought so too. "Jake? I need to go," I managed. "Wait, don't do anything stupid. Don't confront her yet. Don't—" I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip my phone. I stared at the photo again, zooming in like some part of my brain thought maybe I'd made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't really them. But no. There was the small scar on Emily's left shoulder from when she'd fallen off a horse in high school. There was Trevor's college class ring, the one he never took off. How long had this been going on? I thought back over the past few months, looking for signs I'd missed. Emily had been distant, sure, but I'd chalked it up to stress. She'd been working on expanding her interior design business, taking on bigger clients. She'd been going out more, girls' nights, networking events, late meetings. Or so she'd said. And Trevor. God, Trevor had been at our house just 3 days ago for Sunday dinner. He'd played catch with Madison in the backyard while Emily and I prepared the grill. He'd complimented the potato salad Emily made. He'd clinked his beer bottle against mine and said, "To friendship and success, brother." I was going to be sick. I stumbled out of the restaurant into the oppressive Houston heat, gasping for air that felt thick as soup. My truck was parked under a tree at the far end of the lot. I made it there just in time to double over and lose my lunch into the landscaping. When I finally caught my breath, I sat in the driver's seat with the AC blasting, staring at nothing. Think, Jake. Think. I was supposed to be in Dallas until Thursday. Emily thought she had 2 more days before I came home. 2 more days to do whatever the hell she was doing with Trevor. My phone rang. Kyle again. I ignored it. Instead, I opened my banking app. Something I rarely checked because Emily handled most of our finances. She was better with money, more organized. Or so I'd always thought. Our joint checking account looked normal. But when I clicked on our savings, the account we'd been building for Madison's college fund, my blood ran cold. $63,000. We should have had over $200,000. I checked the transaction history. Transfers. Dozens of them over the past 8 months, moving money from savings to checking, then from checking to an account I didn't recognize. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was robbing me blind. I sat in my truck for another 20 minutes, the engine running, AC blasting cold air that did nothing to cut through the heat building inside me. The phone felt like a brick in my hand. I had calls to make. Decisions that would blow up everything I'd built over the past 9 years. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I pulled up the banking app again, forcing myself to look past the missing money and focus on the details. Emily handled our finances. Always had. She was good with numbers, organized, meticulous. I'd been grateful to hand that responsibility over when Madison was born and my business started demanding more attention. The irony wasn't lost on me now. I scrolled through the transaction history, looking for patterns. The transfers started 8 months ago. Small at first, $2,500, then $3,000. By month 4, she was moving $15,000 at a time. The receiving account number meant nothing to me, just a string of digits that had swallowed our daughter's future. My daughter. The thought of Madison made my chest tighten. She loved Trevor. Uncle Trevor, who brought her ice cream and taught her to throw a curveball in the backyard. Uncle Trevor, who was supposed to be her godfather, her protector. I needed air. I killed the engine and stepped out into the Houston heat. The parking lot shimmered, heat waves rising off the asphalt. I walked without direction, just movement to keep from screaming. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Hope Dallas is treating you well. Madison wants to know if you'll bring her back a surprise. Love you. The casual cruelty of it stopped me cold. She was lying to our daughter's face while I was supposedly 200 miles away. Planning God knows what with Trevor while playing the devoted wife over text. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on something neutral. Tell her I'll see what I can find. Another buzz, this time from Kyle. You okay? Call me when you're ready. My brother. The one person in this mess I could trust without question. I hit his number. Jake. His voice was steady, calm. The petroleum engineer in him, always methodical. Where are you? Chick-fil-A parking lot on Westheimer, still processing. You need to come over, Jenna's here, she has more information. My stomach dropped. More than the photo? Yeah, a pause. You're not going to like it. I don't like any of this, Kyle. I know, but you need to hear this before you make any moves. Can you drive? I looked at my hands. They'd stopped shaking, replaced by a cold steadiness that felt foreign. Yeah, I can drive. Good. We're at the apartment. You remember where? I remember. The drive took 15 minutes through midday traffic. Kyle's apartment was in a newer complex near the Galleria, all glass and steel and young professionals. I'd helped him move in 2 years ago, back when life made sense. Jenna opened the door before I could knock. She looked like she'd been crying, mascara smudged under her eyes. Jake, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to. Just tell me what you know. I stepped inside, not bothering with pleasantries. Kyle was at the kitchen counter, 2 beers already open. He slid one toward me. Sit down, man. I'll stand. Jenna exchanged a look with Kyle, then pulled out her phone. After I sent you that photo, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Emily's my friend, was my friend, and I needed to understand what was happening. Get to the point. I went back through her social media, private accounts, the ones she thinks are locked down. Jenna's fingers moved across her screen. She's been posting things. Not about Trevor directly, but about trips, expenses, lifestyle stuff that didn't add up with what I knew about your business. She turned the phone toward me. Instagram photos filled the screen. Emily at a spa in Austin. Emily with shopping bags from stores I'd never heard of. Emily at a restaurant in San Antonio with a caption about weekends away. When were these taken? My voice sounded distant, disconnected. The past 6 months. All times when you were supposedly traveling for work. Jenna scrolled further. But here's the thing that made me dig deeper. Look at the reflections. She zoomed in on a photo of Emily holding a champagne glass. In the background, barely visible in the restaurant window's reflection, was a man's silhouette. Could be anyone, I said, but I already knew. Jenna swiped to another photo. This one showed Emily's hand holding a menu, and on her wrist was a bracelet I'd never seen. Platinum, expensive. But what caught my eye was the edge of another hand in the frame, and on the ring finger was a distinctive college class ring. Trevor's ring, the one he never took off. There's more. Jenna's voice was barely a whisper now. I have a friend who works at First National. She shouldn't have told me this, could lose her job, but… She took a breath. That account Emily's been transferring money to? It's a joint account. Her name and Trevor's. The beer bottle in my hand suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. I set it down carefully on the counter, afraid of what I might do otherwise. They opened it 6 months ago, Jenna continued, right around the time the larger transfers started. Kyle spoke up. It gets worse, Jake. I did some checking on Trevor. Called a buddy who works in commercial real estate. Trevor's been looking at properties, expensive ones, waterfront condos, investment properties, using that account as proof of funds. They're planning a life together. The words came out flat, emotionless. Using my money. Your money and your business, Kyle said. I pulled the partnership documents this morning. Remember how Trevor handles the operational accounts? I nodded, numb. I think you need to audit those too. If he's willing to steal from your family, he's willing to steal from your company. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the counter. How long have you known about the business accounts? I just suspected this morning. But Jake, think about it. You travel. He manages day-to-day operations. He has access to everything. Jenna pulled up another screen on her phone. There's one more thing. I found this on a racing forum. Someone posted about a guardian angel who's been keeping the roads clear for their events. She showed me a thread filled with posts about illegal street races on Houston highways. Late-night runs, organized groups, big money. And scattered throughout were references to someone on the inside making sure speed cameras were offline during race nights. What does this have to do with Emily? Look at her LinkedIn. Jenna switched apps. What does it say her job is? I stared at the screen. Emily's profile showed her interior design business, but there was a secondary listing I'd never noticed before. Traffic systems consultant for Harris County. When did she? 3 years ago, Kyle said quietly. You were so busy with the expansion, remember? She said she wanted something part-time, steady income while her design business grew. The pieces were falling into place, each one heavier than the last. She maintains traffic cameras. Speed cameras specifically, Jenna said. And according to these forum posts, someone's been taking bribes to disable them during illegal racing events. Big money, Jake. These racing groups pay serious cash for immunity. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app again, this time looking at Emily's personal account, the one she thought I didn't have access to. Madison's college fund wasn't the only account she'd been raiding. There were deposits I didn't recognize. Regular payments, always in cash, always on Friday nights. Racing nights. She's been selling out traffic safety enforcement. The words tasted like acid. People could die because she's taken bribes. People probably have died, Kyle said grimly. There was that crash on I-10 2 months ago. 3 kids killed when a street racer lost control. I remembered. It had been all over the news. Emily had been upset about it, or so I thought. Now I wondered if it was guilt or fear of getting caught. I need evidence, I said. Real evidence, not just forum posts and suspicions. Jenna nodded. I thought you might say that. I have a friend who works for the transportation department. She's willing to pull camera maintenance logs, compare them against Emily's work orders and these racing dates. That's illegal. So is bribery and embezzlement, Kyle said. So is adultery in Texas, technically, though nobody prosecutes it. But corruption of public safety systems? That's federal. Federal. The word hung in the air between us. My wife wasn't just cheating. She wasn't just stealing. She was actively endangering lives for money, with my business partner, using my daughter's future to fund their escape plan. I pulled out my phone and started making a list. I need a lawyer, a good one. Already called, Kyle said. Friend from college, practices family law and white-collar crime. He can see you tomorrow morning. I need an accountant, too. Someone who can audit the business without tipping off Trevor. On it, I looked at Jenna. Can your friend get those traffic logs? She's pulling them now. Should have them by tonight. Good. I took a long drink of the beer, finally letting myself feel the weight of what was coming. Emily thinks I'm in Dallas until Thursday. That gives us 2 days to build a case she can't talk her way out of. Kyle raised his bottle. To truth. I didn't toast. I just drank, planning my next move while my world burned down around me. The accountant's office smelled like old coffee and printer ink. I sat across from Dennis Paulson, watching him flip through the printouts I'd brought. 3 years of business statements, tax returns, and bank records. He was maybe 50, with reading glasses perched on his nose and the kind of methodical calm that made you trust him with numbers. How long have you had access to these accounts? Dennis asked, not looking up from the spreadsheet he was marking with a yellow highlighter. Since we started the company 6 years ago, joint signatories on everything. I shifted in the chair. Trevor and I both had to approve any transfer over 5,000. Dennis made a humming sound, kept highlighting. And you review the statements how often? Monthly. Emily handles our personal finances, but I always check the business accounts. Even as I said it, I heard how stupid it sounded. Always checked them. Except I clearly hadn't been checking close enough. Here's what I'm seeing. Dennis turned his monitor toward me. The spreadsheet was color-coded. Green, yellow, red. Too much red. Starting about 18 months ago, there's a pattern of transfers just under the 5,000 threshold. 4,900. 4,800. Never the same amount twice, never on a regular schedule. My stomach dropped. How many? I'm counting 43 so far, still working through the data. He tapped his pen against the desk. They're coded as vendor payments, equipment maintenance, that kind of thing. Buried in the normal operating expenses. Someone would have to be looking specifically for this pattern to catch it. How much total? Dennis pulled up another screen. Rough estimate, 210,000, give or take. The number hit me like a punch. 210,000. On top of the 140 he'd helped Emily steal from Madison's college fund. I gripped the armrests of the chair, trying to keep my breathing steady. Where did it go? That's going to take more time to trace. The transfers went to what looks like a shell company, Walsh Consulting Services. After that, it gets murky. I'll need to dig deeper, probably bring in someone who specializes in forensic accounting. He looked at me over his glasses. This is going to get expensive, Jake. And if you want it done right, done in a way that holds up in court, we need to be thorough. I don't care what it costs. My voice came out harder than I intended. I want every dollar accounted for. Dennis nodded. I'll have a preliminary report by Friday. Full forensic audit will take 2 to 3 weeks. He paused. You should know, this kind of systematic embezzlement, it's criminal, not just civil. You'll want to coordinate with your attorney about when to involve law enforcement. Already working with someone on that. I stood up, legs feeling unsteady. Send me whatever you find as soon as you have it. Will do. Dennis walked me to the door. Jake, I'm sorry you're going through this. In 30 years of doing this work, it never gets easier watching someone discover they've been robbed by people they trusted. I just nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. Back in my truck, I sat in the parking lot and called Nathan Reeves, the attorney Kyle had recommended. He picked up on the second ring. Jake, good timing. I was just about to call you. The accountant found more, I said. Trevor's been skimming from the business for 18 months. Over 200,000. Nathan let out a low whistle. Combined with the college fund theft, we're looking at serious felony territory. I've been doing some research on the traffic camera situation too. That's where things get really interesting. I put the phone on speaker, leaning back against the headrest. How interesting. Federal interesting. The Harris County Traffic Enforcement System receives federal transportation funding. If Emily's been taking bribes to disable safety equipment that's federally funded, that's not just local corruption. It's wire fraud, possibly RICO, depending on how organized this racing operation is. Papers rustled on his end. I made some calls. Turns out the FBI's Public Corruption Unit has been looking at irregularities in the Houston area traffic enforcement for about 6 months. Camera failures in certain corridors, Patterns that don't match normal equipment malfunction. They're already investigating? Not Emily specifically, not yet. But they're aware something's wrong with the system. Nathan's voice took on a sharper edge. If we bring them what you found, the payment records, the disabled equipment logs, the connection to illegal racing, we're not just talking about local charges. We're talking about federal prosecution. I thought about those teenagers on I-10. 3 kids who'd never make it home because someone decided traffic safety was for sale. What do we need to do? First, we need to secure all the evidence you have. Make copies, store them in multiple locations. Second, we need to decide on timing. Once we involve federal authorities, this becomes their investigation. You lose some control over how it unfolds. I want them to have it, I said. All of it. Whatever puts Emily and Trevor away longest. Understood. But think about Madison. Federal cases take time. This will be in the news. Your daughter's going to see her mother arrested, probably on television. You need to be prepared for that. Madison. Jesus. I closed my eyes, seeing her face when she asked why Mommy wasn't coming home. How do we minimize the impact on her? That's more of a question for a family therapist than an attorney. But legally, you'll want to file for emergency custody as soon as possible. Given Emily's criminal activity and the fact that she's stolen from your daughter's college fund, you'll likely get it. The court won't want Madison in a home where federal agents might be executing search warrants. The reality of it settled over me like a weight. This wasn't just about catching them anymore. This was about dismantling Madison's entire world, ripping apart the only family she'd ever known. Jake? You still there? Yeah, I'm here. I rubbed my face. What's the timeline look like? If we move fast, I can have the emergency custody filing ready by tomorrow morning. We coordinate with the FBI, they'll probably want to interview you, review all your evidence. Once they're satisfied they have enough for warrants, things move quickly. Days, not weeks. Do it. File for custody tomorrow. I'll need you to come to my office this afternoon. We need to go through everything. The evidence you've collected, your statement about discovering the affair and the embezzlement, documentation of Emily's access to Madison. Bring any photos, videos, text messages, everything. I checked my watch. 3:15. I can be there by 4. Perfect. And Jake? Once we start this, there's no stopping it. Make sure you're ready. Was I ready? Ready to blow up my daughter's life? To see my wife and business partner in handcuffs? To watch everything I'd built over the last 6 years collapse? No. But ready or not, it was happening. I'm sure, I said. I spent the next 40 minutes driving around Houston, not really going anywhere, just driving. Trying to get my head straight before I walked into Nathan's office and made it all official. My phone buzzed. Kyle. How'd it go with the accountant? $210,000 from the business. 18 months of systematic theft. I merged onto the freeway, heading toward Nathan's office downtown. Trevor set up a shell company, buried the transfers in operating expenses. Kyle swore softly. That son of a... Yeah. I changed lanes, cutting off a pickup that honked at me. Nathan says we're looking at federal charges for Emily. The traffic camera thing involves federal funding. Good. She deserves whatever she gets. He paused. You doing okay? No. The honesty surprised me. I'm about to go file for emergency custody of Madison. Once that happens, once we bring in the FBI, it's real. No going back. You want me there? I can leave work right now. The offer made my throat tight. No, I need to do this myself. But thanks. Jenna and I are here if you need anything. Anything at all. His voice softened. You're doing the right thing, Jake. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you are? I wasn't sure I believed him, but I appreciated him saying it anyway. I'll call you after I meet with Nathan. Okay, hey Jake. Yeah? When this is over, when the dust settles, you and Madison are going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to build something new, something better. I promise. I wanted to believe that. Wanted to imagine a future where my daughter wasn't traumatized, where I wasn't bitter, where we could be a family again, even if it looked different. But right now, all I could see was the wreckage ahead. Thanks, Kyle. I ended the call and kept driving toward downtown, toward Nathan's office, toward the point of no return. The conference room at the FBI's Houston field office was exactly what you'd expect. Bland gray walls, government-issue furniture, and the kind of fluorescent lighting that made everyone look vaguely ill. I sat between Nathan and Kyle, watching Special Agent Victoria Lang arrange photographs across the table like she was dealing cards. Mr. Patterson, she said, not looking up from her work. I appreciate you coming in on short notice. You said it was about the traffic camera situation. Among other things. She finally met my eyes. Dark hair pulled back tight, maybe 40, with the kind of direct stare that probably made suspects confess to jaywalking. We've been investigating illegal street racing operations in Harris County for 8 months. Your wife's name came up 3 weeks ago. My stomach dropped, even though I'd known this was coming. Hearing it stated so matter-of-factly by a federal agent made it real in a way the bank statements and payment records hadn't. Nathan leaned forward. My client is here voluntarily to provide information. He only discovered his wife's activities 5 days ago. We're aware. Lang slid a photograph toward me. Do you recognize this location? I looked at the image. Highway 290, the stretch near Cypress. Yeah, I drive it sometimes heading out to job sites. Speed camera was disabled there on June 15th. Illegal race that night. 2 spectators injured when a car lost control. She added another photo. This one's West Park Tollway. Camera down July 2nd. Race ended with a 3-car pileup. 1 fatality. The fluorescent lights seemed to get brighter. I felt Kyle's hand on my shoulder. And this, Lang continued, placing a 3rd photo, is from August 19th. Hardy Toll Road. Camera disabled for 6 hours. Street race turned into a pursuit when HPD showed up. The chase ended when the suspect vehicle ran a red light at Shepherd and West Dallas. She paused. Struck a minivan. Mother and 2 children inside. The 8-year-old didn't make it. I couldn't breathe. Madison was 7. Jesus Christ, Kyle muttered. Nathan's voice was steady. Agent Lang, my client had no knowledge of any of this. He came to you as soon as he discovered the camera tampering evidence. I understand that. Lang's expression softened slightly. Mr. Patterson, I want to be clear. You're not under investigation. But I need to know everything you found. Every detail about how your wife was operating this scheme. I swallowed hard and pulled out the folder I'd brought. The payment records go back 14 months. Different racing groups, but the amounts are consistent. $5,000 per event for camera blackouts. She'd get the schedule from someone, I don't know who. Then she'd disable the cameras remotely through her county access, make it look like technical malfunctions. Lang examined the printouts I'd given her. Trevor Walsh. He's the business partner you mentioned? Was. Yeah. He was involved in facilitating these arrangements? According to the communications I found, he was the middleman, made the contacts with the racing organizers, collected the payments, split them with Emily. I hesitated. There's something else. Some of the payments came from an account registered to a company called Apex Velocity Group. Lang and her partner, a younger guy named Agent Brooks who'd been silent until now, exchanged glances. You know them? I asked. We've had Apex on our radar for 2 years, Brooks said. They organize high-stakes illegal races across Texas. Big money, professional drivers, serious hardware. They've been connected to at least 6 fatal accidents that we know of. The room tilted slightly. Emily hadn't just been taking bribes from kids racing their modified Hondas. She'd been enabling organized criminal activity that killed people. The 8-year-old, I heard myself say. The one who died in August. What was her name? Lang hesitated. Mr. Patterson? What was her name? Sophie. Sophie Brennan. I closed my eyes. Same last name as the contract that had started unraveling everything. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Nathan cleared his throat. What happens now? We'll coordinate with the Harris County District Attorney's Office, Lang said. The evidence Mr. Patterson provided, combined with what we've already gathered, is sufficient for multiple charges. Bribery, official misconduct, tampering with traffic safety equipment. If we can prove the connection between the disabled cameras and specific accidents, we're looking at criminally negligent homicide. And Trevor Walsh? Kyle asked. Same charges plus conspiracy. We'll be executing search warrants on both residences tomorrow morning. Lang looked at me. I need to ask, where is your wife right now? At home, as far as I know. She thinks I'm in Dallas on business. And she has no idea you've discovered any of this? No. Lang nodded slowly. Keep it that way. Don't contact her. Don't give her any indication that something's wrong. We need her to stay put until tomorrow. What about my daughter? The question came out rougher than I intended. Madison's at the house. Is there someone who can pick her up? A relative? Family friend? I looked at Kyle. He nodded immediately. Jenna and I can get her. We'll say we're taking her for ice cream or something. Do it tonight, Lang said. Make it casual, nothing that would alert your wife. Once we execute the warrants tomorrow, things are going to move fast. Nathan was making notes. What's the timeline for arrests? Warrants will be served at 6 a.m. If everything's in order, arrests will follow immediately. They'll be arraigned within 48 hours. Lang gathered her photographs. Mr. Patterson, I know this is difficult, but you did the right thing coming forward. I didn't feel like I'd done the right thing. I felt like I was watching my entire life detonate in slow motion. The racing groups, I said. The ones who paid Emily. Are you going after them too? Already in progress. We've been building cases on several organizations. Your wife's records gave us the final pieces we needed. Lang stood. We'll need you available for testimony when this goes to trial. He'll be available, Nathan said. The meeting wrapped up with more procedural details I barely absorbed. Nathan handled most of it, taking notes, asking questions about protective orders and asset freezes. My brain was stuck on that photograph, the intersection at Shepherd and West Dallas, where an 8-year-old girl named Sophie died because my wife wanted an extra $5,000. Outside, the Houston heat hit like a physical force. Kyle walked me to my truck while Nathan took a call. You okay? Kyle asked. No. Stupid question, sorry. He leaned against the truck bed. Jenna and I will get Madison tonight. We'll keep her at our place until you figure out what to tell her. How do I tell a 7-year-old that her mother's going to prison? Kyle didn't have an answer for that. Nobody did. My phone buzzed. Text from Emily. How's Dallas? Missing you. I stared at the message, thinking about Sophie Brennan, about the mother and children in that minivan, about all the people who'd been hurt or killed because my wife sold public safety to the highest bidder. Productive trip, I typed back. Home tomorrow. Another message came through immediately. Can't wait. Love you. I deleted the conversation without responding. Nathan finished his call and walked over. The DA's office is moving forward with the asset freeze. Everything in Emily's name or joint accounts will be locked down by morning. Same with Trevor's accounts. Good. There's something else. Nathan's expression was grim. Agent Lang mentioned this off the record, but the Harris County Traffic Division is going to be under serious scrutiny. Emily had access to the entire camera network. They're going to have to audit every malfunction, every disabled camera for the past 2 years. The whole enforcement system is compromised. Meaning what? Meaning traffic enforcement in Harris County is effectively shut down until they can verify system integrity. Could take months. And in the meantime, every speeding ticket, every red light citation from the past year is potentially challengeable in court. The scope of it was staggering. Emily hadn't just committed crimes, she'd undermined an entire public safety system. The racing groups, I said. With the cameras down for months during the investigation. Nathan nodded grimly. They'll know enforcement is compromised. Lang's team is worried about increased illegal racing activity until the system's restored. So Emily's corruption would keep causing damage even after she was arrested. More races, more accidents, more people like Sophie Brennan. Kyle's phone rang. He answered, listened, then handed it to me. It's Jenna. She wants to talk to you. I took the phone. Yeah? Jake, I'm so sorry. Jenna's voice was tight. I just heard from a friend at the courthouse. The warrant information leaked somehow. It's going to be on the news tonight. My blood went cold. What? Channel 13 is running a story at 6 about corruption in the Harris County Traffic Division. They're not naming Emily yet, but I checked my watch. 5:45. She's going to see it, I said. Emily's going to know. The fluorescent lights of the FBI field office burned my eyes as I stared at the clock on the wall. 11:47 p.m. In 6 hours and 13 minutes, federal agents would arrest my wife and my former best friend. Except now, thanks to some leak at the transportation department, Emily might already know. Agent Lang was on her phone, pacing near the conference room window. Her jaw was tight, and she kept glancing at me with an expression that told me everything I needed to know. This was bad. I understand, she said into the phone. Yes, sir. We're moving up the timeline now. She hung up and turned to face me. Mr. Patterson, we have a situation. I gathered that from the part where you said there was a leak. The transportation department sent out an internal memo about cooperating with our investigation. Someone there forwarded it to a reporter at the Chronicle. That reporter called the department for comment about 20 minutes ago, specifically asking about Emily Patterson and traffic camera tampering. My stomach dropped. Did they? The department declined to comment, but the reporter's working the story. She's making calls. Lang sat down across from me. We're accelerating everything. Arrest teams are mobilizing now. We'll have people at your house and Trevor's apartment within the hour. Emily's not stupid. If someone tips her off, we're monitoring her phone and her vehicle. If she moves, we'll know. I thought about Madison asleep in her bed, completely unaware that in a few hours, federal agents would be arresting her mother. What about my daughter? Child Protective Services has been notified. Given that you're the non-offending parent and there's no allegation against you, Madison will remain in your custody, but we'll need to execute the warrant at your residence because that's where Emily is. You're going to arrest her in front of Madison. Lang's expression softened slightly. We'll do everything we can to minimize the impact on your daughter. The team knows there's a child in the home, but yes, if Emily is there when we arrive, we'll have to take her into custody. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Let me get Madison out first. I'll take her to my brother's place. You can call me when you're ready to go in. Mr. Patterson? She's 7 years old, Agent Lang. She doesn't need to see her mother in handcuffs. Lang studied me for a long moment, then nodded. You have 1 hour. Get your daughter and leave. Don't speak to Emily beyond what's absolutely necessary. Don't give her any indication that something's wrong. Can you do that? I've been lying to her for the past 8 hours. What's one more conversation? The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway at 12:20 a.m. Emily's Lexus sat in its usual spot, and I could see the faint glow of the television through the living room curtains. My hands shook as I killed the engine. 1 hour. Get Madison out. Don't let Emily suspect anything. I used my key as quietly as possible, easing the door open. The TV was on, some late-night talk show, but Emily wasn't in the living room. I could hear water running upstairs, the shower. Perfect. I took the stairs 2 at a time, moving as quietly as I could. Madison's door was partially open, and I could see her small form curled up under her purple comforter, her stuffed elephant tucked under one arm. Maddie, I whispered, gently shaking her shoulder. Hey, sweetheart, wake up. She stirred, blinking up at me in confusion. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Listen, we're gonna go stay with Uncle Kyle tonight. It's a surprise. But it's nighttime. I know. That's what makes it an adventure. I forced a smile that felt like broken glass on my face. Come on, let's get you dressed. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Is Mommy coming? No, Mommy has to work early tomorrow. It'll just be us. The shower shut off down the hall. I heard the bathroom door open. Jake? Emily's voice, cautious. Is that you? My heart hammered against my ribs. Yeah, Madison had a nightmare. I'm gonna take her to Kyle's so you can get some sleep. Footsteps in the hallway. Emily appeared in Madison's doorway wearing a bathrobe, her hair wrapped in a towel. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. At midnight? She called me. She was really upset. I turned to Madison, who was looking between us with sleepy confusion. Weren't you, sweetheart? Madison, bless her, was smart enough to pick up on the tension. Yeah, it was scary. Emily's gaze lingered on me, searching. For a moment I thought she knew, that somehow she'd figured out that in less than an hour, federal agents would be breaking down our door. Okay, she said finally. That's fine. I'll see you tomorrow, baby. She bent down to kiss Madison's forehead, and I had to look away. How many times had she kissed our daughter goodnight while planning to abandon her? I helped Madison into jeans and a t-shirt, grabbed her overnight bag from the closet, and threw in some clothes and her toothbrush. Emily watched from the doorway, her arms crossed. Jake. I didn't look at her. Yeah? We need to talk, tomorrow, about things. My jaw clenched. Sure, tomorrow. I mean it. There are things I need to tell you. I zipped up Madison's bag and picked it up, then took my daughter's hand. Like I said, tomorrow. I moved past Emily toward the stairs, Madison's small hand in mine. Behind me, I heard Emily say, "I'm sorry." I didn't turn around. For what? A long pause. You'll understand tomorrow. Kyle and Jenna's apartment was in Midtown, a 20-minute drive that felt like hours. Madison dozed in the back seat, her elephant clutched to her chest. My phone buzzed twice. Agent Lang, confirming I was clear of the house. I didn't respond until I'd parked in Kyle's lot. "We're out," I texted back. "Team moving in at 01:30. We'll update you." Kyle met me at the door in sweatpants and a Texans t-shirt, his hair sticking up. Jenna was right behind him, already making up the guest room. "Hey, Maddie girl," Kyle said softly, taking her from my arms. She was mostly asleep again, her head on his shoulder. "Let's get you to bed." I watched him carry her down the hall, this little girl who was about to have her entire world shattered. Jenna touched my arm. "You okay?" "No." "Stupid question, sorry." She gestured toward the kitchen. "Coffee?" "Yeah, thanks." I sat at their kitchen table while Jenna made coffee, my phone face up in front of me. 1:15 a.m. 15 minutes until the FBI descended on my house. 15 minutes until Emily's life as she knew it ended. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mr. Patterson, this is Special Agent Reeves with the arrest team. We're in position at your residence. Subject's vehicle is still in the driveway, lights on inside. We'll be making entry in approximately 10 minutes. Agent Lang wanted me to confirm your daughter is secure." "She's with my brother. She's safe." "Copy that. We'll contact you once the arrest is complete." Kyle came back into the kitchen and sat down across from me. "She's out cold. Didn't even ask why she was here." "She will tomorrow." "Yeah." Kyle accepted a mug from Jenna and wrapped his hands around it. "What are you going to tell her?" "I don't know. The truth, I guess. Some version of it." I stared at my phone. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that her mother's a criminal? "You don't have to figure it all out tonight. FBI's going in now. 10 minutes. Jenna sat down next to Kyle, her hand finding his. "Do you want us to be there? When you tell her?" "I don't even know where there is going to be. The house is a crime scene. Emily's going to federal lockup. Trevor, too." I laughed, a bitter sound. This time yesterday, my biggest problem was whether to have Italian or Mexican for dinner. Kyle's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. "Jake?" "What?" He turned his phone around. On the screen was a news alert from the Houston Chronicle's website. "Harris County traffic official under federal investigation for bribery, safety violations." I grabbed the phone and read. The article was sparse on details, but had Emily's name, her position, and references to organized illegal racing operations and multiple fatalities. At the bottom was a quote from an unnamed federal source. "Arrests are expected imminently." "They published it," I said. "The reporter published it." My phone exploded with notifications, text messages, missed calls, emails. I scrolled through them with numb fingers. Clients asking if the Emily Patterson in the article was my wife. Neighbors wanting to know if everything was okay. Someone from Madison's school. And then, at 1:28 a.m., a text from an unknown number. "You did this." I stared at the message, my blood turning to ice. Another text. "You're going to regret this." "Jake?" Kyle's voice seemed to come from far away. "What is it?" I showed him the phone. His face went pale. That's not Emily's number, he said. No, it's not. A third text appeared. Tell Madison her mother loves her. Then my phone rang. Agent Lang. Mr. Patterson, we have a problem. The phone felt like ice against my ear despite the summer heat still radiating from the asphalt. What kind of problem? I asked, watching Kyle's headlights disappear down the street. Agent Lang's voice had lost its usual professional calm. Emily's not at the house. The team cleared it 3 minutes ago. No one's home. Her car's gone from the garage. My stomach dropped. What about Trevor? We have him. Picked him up at his apartment without incident. But Jake, there's something else. She paused, and I heard papers rustling. We found Emily's work laptop at the house. Our tech pulled recent activity before the warrant execution. She accessed the traffic camera network 40 minutes ago. 40 minutes? I looked at my phone. 1:47 a.m. That was right after I got those texts. What texts? I'd forgotten to mention them in the chaos. 2 messages from an unknown number. You did this, and you're going to regret this. Forward them to me, now. Lang's tone shifted to urgent. Jake, Emily disabled every speed camera on the 610 loop and I-10 interchange. All of them. Then she wiped the maintenance logs. The implications hit me like a freight train. She's running. Or setting something up. We've got APB out on her vehicle, but with no cameras on those corridors. Lang trailed off. Where would she go? Family? Friends? I leaned against Kyle's truck, my mind racing through possibilities. Her parents are dead. Sister lives in Phoenix. Her college friends, Jenna was the closest one, and that bridge is burned. What about money? Bank accounts? Joint accounts she cleaned out, but I froze them this afternoon after you advised me to. She might have cash stashed, but I don't know where. Credit cards? Also joint. I canceled them. I pressed my palm against my forehead, trying to think like Emily. Where would she go with limited resources and federal warrants out for her arrest? Wait. She mentioned something last week about a property. Said it was for a client's project, some weekend place near Galveston. I didn't think much of it. You have an address? No, but it might be in her email or files. She keeps everything digital. We're imaging her laptop now. I'll have our team search for property records, rental agreements, anything in the Galveston area. Lang's voice became muffled as she spoke to someone else. Jake, I need you to stay where you are. Don't go home. Is there somewhere safe you can... A notification lit up my phone. Another text from the unknown number. She's not who you think she is. Check the Brennan file. Agent Lang, I just got another text. Read it to me. I did. Silence stretched for 3 seconds. The Brennan file, Lang said slowly. That's the fatality case. The 8-year-old girl who died in the street racing accident on April 15th. I know. You showed me the report. Jake, we never released the family's name to you. That report I showed you was redacted. How would this person know you'd understand the reference to Brennan? My mouth went dry. You think someone from your investigation is texting me? Or someone with access to sealed case files? Lang's keyboard clicked rapidly in the background. The Brennan case is part of an active federal investigation. The family details are restricted. Even the media only got the victim's first name and age. So who... Give me a minute. More typing. Jake, did Emily ever mention the name David Brennan? No. Should she have? David Brennan is Sophie Brennan's father. He's a software engineer at a traffic management company that contracts with Harris County. Same company that maintains the camera system Emily worked on. The pieces started connecting in my head, but the picture they formed made no sense. You think he's texting me? I think someone wants you to look at something we missed. Forward me everything. All 3 texts. I'm sending a unit to sit on your brother's house. Don't leave until they arrive. She hung up before I could respond. I stood in Kyle's driveway, the cicadas screaming in the oak trees, and pulled up the texts again. Check the Brennan file. But I didn't have access to any Brennan file. The only documents I'd seen were what Lang had shown me, and those were… Wait. I'd photographed everything in Emily's home office before the FBI arrived. Every document, every receipt, every scrap of paper that might be evidence. The photos were still on my phone, backed up to the cloud. I'd been so focused on the financial records and bribery payments that I hadn't looked at everything. I opened my photo gallery and started scrolling backward through the hundreds of images I'd taken. Bank statements, shell company documents, racing group correspondence. Then, near the end of the sequence, a folder I'd photographed but not examined closely. The tab read, Traffic Incident Reports, Personal Copies. My hands shook as I zoomed in on the first page. Incident Report 2024-0415-1847. Location, I-10 eastbound, mile marker 762. Date, April 15th, 2024. Time, 6:47 p.m. Fatality, Sophie Marie Brennan, age 8 young. Below the header, someone had written in red ink, Camera TX762E, disabled 6:15 p.m. per AVG contract. Payment received 4/12/24. AVG, Apex Velocity Group. I felt bile rise in my throat. Emily had documented her own involvement in a child's death. But why keep the file? Why write notes that incriminated herself? I swiped to the next image. Another incident report, this one from March. Different location, different circumstances, but the same red ink notation. Camera disabled per client request. The third image made my blood freeze. It wasn't an incident report. It was an email, printed and annotated. The sender, D. Brennan, trafficsysigmail.com. The recipient, Emily's work address. The date, April 16, 2024, one day after Sophie Brennan died. Ms. Patterson. I know what you did. I have proof you disabled the camera that would have captured my daughter's killers. I've copied the maintenance logs before you could alter them. I've documented every payment you receive from racing organizations. You have 48 hours to turn yourself in to federal authorities, or I will release everything I have to the FBI, the media, and every traffic safety organization in the country. You killed my daughter for money. I'm giving you one chance to do the right thing. David Brennan. Emily's handwritten response was scrawled across the bottom of the printed email. Dealt with. DB won't be a problem. My phone buzzed. Agent Lang. Jake, we found David Brennan. Where? Harris County Morgue. He's been dead for 3 weeks. Single car accident on Highway 6. Drove off an overpass at high speed. No skid marks, no evidence of braking. The night air suddenly felt suffocating. You're saying Emily? I'm saying David Brennan threatened to expose her, and 3 days later he's dead in a convenient accident. On a stretch of road where, let me check, yes, the traffic cameras were disabled for emergency maintenance that same evening. Jesus Christ! Jake, if Emily was willing to kill a witness, and if she knows you've turned evidence against her… Lang didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. A car turned onto Kyle's street, moving slowly. Not the patrol unit Lang promised. Wrong make and model. Dark sedan, headlights off despite the darkness. Agent Lang, there's a car. The sedan accelerated suddenly, engine roaring. Not toward me, away from me, racing down the street and disappearing around the corner. My phone buzzed again. The unknown number. She knows where you are. She's coming. Get Madison and run." "Jake?" Lang's voice was sharp in my ear. "What's happening?" "Someone just warned me Emily's coming here." I was already moving toward Kyle's front door, my heart hammering. "How would she know where I am?" "Your phone. If she has access to your account, she could be tracking your location." Lang's voice became muffled again as she shouted orders to someone. "I'm sending units now. Get inside, lock the doors, and stay away from windows." I burst through Kyle's front door. He was standing in the hallway, still dressed, his phone in his hand. "We need to leave," I said. "Now." "What's going on?" "Emily's coming. She might have killed someone who tried to expose her. We need to get Madison and get out of here." Kyle's face went pale, but he didn't hesitate. "Jenna's got her in the guest room. I'll get them." He disappeared down the hallway while I locked the front door and moved to the window, peering through the blinds. The street looked empty, suburban houses dark and quiet. But somewhere out there, Emily was driving with no cameras to track her, no witnesses to see where she went. And she knew exactly where to find her daughter. The safe house was a bland apartment complex in Sugarland, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and everyone minded their own business. Agent Lang had arranged it within an hour of us fleeing Kyle's place. Madison slept in the bedroom while I sat at the kitchen table, watching dawn break through cheap Venetian blinds. Emily was arrested at 6:47 a.m. trying to cross into Louisiana. A state trooper pulled her over for a broken taillight, the kind of random luck that changes everything. She had $43,000 in cash, a burner phone, and a handgun registered to Trevor. Trevor talked almost immediately. Gave them everything: the racing contacts, the payment structure, the shell companies. He claimed Emily had masterminded it all, that he'd just been following her lead. Whether that was true or just self-preservation, I'd never know for sure. The David Brennan investigation took 3 weeks. The FBI's accident reconstruction team found evidence his car had been tampered with. Brake lines cut partially through, designed to fail at high speed. Security footage from a parking garage near his office showed Emily's Lexus following him the day before he died. She'd been sloppy, or maybe she'd stopped caring about covering her tracks. The federal prosecutor offered her a deal: plead guilty to everything, testify against the racing organizations, and she'd get 25 years instead of life. She took it. Trevor got 18 years for his cooperation. I never spoke to either of them again. Madison understood more than I expected and less than she needed to. The child psychologist said that was normal for her age. She could grasp that mommy had done bad things and hurt people, but the full weight of it wouldn't hit until she was older. Some nights she cried for her mother. Some nights she was angry at me for telling on mommy. Most nights, she just wanted to be held while I read her stories about worlds where good people stayed. Good and bad people were just misunderstood. I sold the house. Couldn't stand to live in a place where Emily had planned her crimes and counted her blood money. We moved to a smaller place in the Woodlands, closer to Kyle and Jenna. Madison started at a new school where nobody knew her mother's name. The business took months to untangle. Trevor's embezzlement had nearly destroyed us, but the forensic accountants recovered most of it from the shell companies. I bought out Trevor's share for pennies on the dollar. He signed the papers from federal lockup without complaint. The company survived, smaller and leaner, but honest. Sophie Brennan's mother reached out to me 6 months after the arrests. We met for coffee, two strangers bound by tragedy. She didn't blame me, said she understood I'd been a victim too. But she asked me to speak at traffic safety conferences, to tell the story of what corruption had cost her family. I said yes. It was the least I could do. 2 years later, I stood in a courtroom as a judge finalized my full custody of Madison. It was a formality. Emily had surrendered her parental rights as part of her plea agreement, but it felt important to make it official. Madison was 9 now, taller and more serious than she'd been before. She'd stopped asking when Mommy was coming home. She'd stopped asking about Mommy at all. We went for ice cream afterward, just the two of us. She got chocolate chip cookie dough. I got vanilla because some things stay simple even when everything else falls apart. "Dad?" she asked, swinging her legs under the table. "Yeah, sweetheart?" "Uncle Kyle says I can have a sleepover next weekend. Can I go?" Such a normal question. Such a normal moment. It made my throat tight. "Sure, baby. We'll call him tonight and set it up." She smiled, and for just a second she looked exactly like the little girl she'd been before her world collapsed. Happy, unburdened, safe. I'd spend the rest of my life trying to keep her that way. The final numbers were staggering. Emily's corruption had compromised 847 traffic camera activations over 18 months. The Harris County system was offline for 7 months during the investigation and rebuild. In that time, traffic fatalities in the affected corridors increased by 32%. 14 people died in illegal racing incidents during the period Emily was taking bribes. Sophie Brennan was the youngest. David Brennan's death brought the total to 15. A number that would have been 16 if Emily's brake line trick on my truck had worked. The FBI found evidence of that tampering 3 months after her arrest, buried in her deleted files. She'd planned to kill me the week I discovered her affair. I thought about that sometimes, late at night when Madison was asleep and the house was quiet. How close I'd come to being just another convenient accident. How easily she'd decided I was disposable. The woman I'd married, the mother of my child, had become someone capable of murder. Or maybe she'd always been that person, and I'd just been too blind to see it. I'd never know which was worse. What I learned from all of it wasn't profound or particularly comforting. There was no moment of clarity, no philosophical revelation that made sense of the wreckage. I learned that people can hide monsters behind familiar faces. That trust, once broken, leaves scars that never fully heal. That love isn't enough to protect you from someone who's decided you're in their way. But I also learned that you can survive what you thought would destroy you. That your children are more resilient than you fear and more fragile than you hope. That starting over isn't weakness. It's the only way forward when everything behind you has burned. Madison would carry this with her forever. The knowledge that her mother chose money over morality, chose escape over accountability, chose everything except her own daughter. That weight would shape her in ways I couldn't predict or prevent. All I could do was be there, be honest, be the parent who stayed. Some days that felt like enough. Some days it felt like nothing at all. But every morning I got up and made breakfast, helped with homework, drove to soccer practice, built a life from the pieces Emily had tried to destroy. And slowly, so slowly I barely noticed it happening, the pieces started to fit together into something new. Not better than before, because before was built on lies. But real, solid, true. 3 years after that afternoon in Chick-fil-A, I was sitting in Madison's school auditorium watching her play a tree in the 4th grade production of The Wizard of Oz. She had 3 lines and a cardboard costume, and she delivered both with the kind of serious concentration that made my chest ache. Kyle and Jenna were there, their 2-year-old son asleep in Jenna's arms. My parents had driven in from Austin. Madison's teacher had saved us seats in the front row. This was my life now. School plays and family dinners and the kind of ordinary moments I'd taken for granted before. When the play ended, Madison ran off stage and threw her arms around me, still wearing her tree costume. "Did you see me, Dad? Did you see?" "I saw everything, sweetheart. You were perfect." She beamed up at me, and I realized something that had been true for a while, but I'd been afraid to acknowledge. We were going to be okay. Not today, maybe. Not even tomorrow. But eventually. The scars would remain. The questions would linger. Madison would grow up knowing her mother had chosen wrong when it mattered most. But she'd also grow up knowing her father had chosen right. That when the world fell apart, the people who loved her had stayed, had fought for her, had built something new from the ruins. That had to count for something. That had to be enough. I never heard from Emily again. She sent one letter from federal prison when Madison turned 10. I read it, then locked it in a safe deposit box. When Madison was old enough, if she wanted to read it, that would be her choice. Trevor died in prison 18 months into his sentence. Heart attack during recreation time. I felt nothing when I heard. The racing organizations Emily had enabled were dismantled. Apex Velocity Group's leadership got RICO charges. The whole network collapsed like the house of cards it had always been. Harris County rebuilt their traffic enforcement system with new safeguards, new oversight, new people who hadn't been corrupted. The cameras came back online. The streets got safer. Sophie Brennan's mother started a foundation in her daughter's name, advocating for traffic safety and government accountability. I donated to it every year on Sophie's birthday. It didn't bring her back. Nothing could. But it meant something to try. On Madison's 12th birthday, she asked me the question I'd been dreading. "Do you think Mom ever really loved us?" We were sitting on the back porch of our house, watching fireflies blink in the summer darkness. She was almost as tall as me now, growing into a young woman who looked heartbreakingly like Emily, but had none of her mother's capacity for cruelty. "I think she loved us the best way she knew how," I said carefully. "But she loved herself more. And when she had to choose between doing right by us or doing what was easy for her, she chose wrong." Madison was quiet for a long moment. "Do you still love her?" "I love who I thought she was. But that person never really existed." I put my arm around my daughter's shoulders. "What I know for sure is that I love you. More than anything. And I will never, ever choose wrong when it comes to you." She leaned into me, and we sat there watching the fireflies until the sky went dark and the stars came out. Some wounds never fully heal. Some betrayals cut too deep for forgiveness. Some people make choices that can't be unmade, that ripple out and destroy everything they touch. But some people stay. Some people fight. Some people choose love over convenience, truth over comfort, right over easy. I couldn't control what Emily had done. I couldn't undo the damage or erase the scars. But I could be the father Madison deserved. I could build a life worth living from the wreckage of the one I'd lost. I could choose every single day to be better than the person who'd betrayed us. In the end, that was the only revenge that mattered. Not seeing Emily in prison, not watching her empire crumble, not even knowing she'd lost everything. It was this. Sitting on a porch with my daughter, watching fireflies, and knowing that despite everything she'd tried to destroy, we had survived. We had survived, and we were building something she could never touch. That was enough. That would always be enough.